everyone. Thank you. My name's Carl Guardino. I'm president and CEO of the Silicon Valley Leadership Group, and we're honored that you've joined us here today at Eventbrite, our hosts, Kevin and Julia Hartz, for a town hall with Mayor Ed Lee and Maria Odom with the Obama administration as we talk about the pressing need for action now on immigration reform. If you look at your watches, in 45 minutes, the voting starts on the Senate floor. And then a lot of work on the House side before this train gets to the president, but a great start. Will you join me in thanking our hosts, Kevin and Julia? And Julia, if you don't mind, we'd love for you to say a few words about Eventbrite and our reason to be here today.
Absolutely, thank you. Well, I'm thrilled to be hosting this event for a few different reasons. One is we are proud residents of San Francisco, both in our homes and in our company. And we were founded here just a few blocks away. And what really matters to us is that we have a mayor who understands the issues that are nearest and dearest to us. And one of them is immigration reform. We, since the inception of Eventbrite in 2006, we've actually applied for and received over 20 H-1B visas alone, along with a variety of different visas. And for us, the feeling is that we just have simply put a shortage on great talent to pull from when we do need to go through the steps that we go through to obtain those visas. And I think that for the tech community, we're focused on opening up our tech pool to the global community. And I think that nobody can attest to the fact that we are in a talent war, along with the space war in San Francisco. And anything that we can do to help move this ball forward and help create change here means so much to us. And again, I feel like we have the mayor who can actually create change there and who can create impact. And so we stand behind Mayor Ed Lee, and we are so thrilled that he's here on his second visit to Eventbrite. And I'm so excited to hear what he has to say about immigration reform. And so I'm going to quickly turn it over to these fine folks. Thank you.
Thanks again. Julia, Kevin, thank you again for being such not only great company leaders, but such great community leaders as well. We're going to have a robust town hall today. This is being taped live for a radio show that I host on 1590 KLIV here in the Bay Area. Mike Danberger, our producer's in the back. We always like to let people know that in advance. And I'm going to ask a few questions, then we're going to open it up to you for as many questions as we have in the allotted time that we have on your mutual calendars today. So with that, we're going to start. Welcome to Eventbrite with the co-CEOs Kevin and Julia Hartz for our live town hall, with White House administration official Maria Odom, along with San Francisco's Mayor Edwin Lee, and three entrepreneurs who we're going to be hearing a lot about today and in the future as they continue on the cutting edge of technology for a robust, timely conversation on comprehensive immigration reform. To work within the time that we have, I'm going to dispense with long introductions, but let me mention the entrepreneurs that are here with us today. Geetha Vallabhaneni has immigrated from India to the United States 15 years ago. As soon as she was able to go through that long, arduous path to receive her green card, she co-founded her company, Luminix, within months of that time. Born in Colombia, our next entrepreneur is Alexander Torrenegra. He is the founder and CEO of VoiceBunny. I love that name, and it's a great company. He is also a recent father and just returned almost right after his little girl was born, to the White House to be honored by President Obama for the work he does and his own immigration story. You'll be hearing about that. And then our third innovator, Rutul Dave, he's the co-founder and chief of products and marketing at Bright Funds. He received his master's in computer science from USC and an eminent MBA from UCLA's prestigious Anderson School of Management. Will you join me in thanking all of our panelists? And Mayor Lee, if you don't mind, we're going to start our first question for all of our panelists with you. As mayor of one of the finest cities in America, why are you supporting comprehensive immigration reform with all the other day-to-day work you have to do running the city and county of San Francisco?
Thank you, Carl, and let me repeat my thanks to Julia and Kevin for hosting this again. This is the first technology company I visited when I made a commitment to visit every Tuesday a different technology company, and every time I come back I get inspired by what people are doing. Carl, thank you. Silicon Valley Leadership Group is incredibly important, working with our Chamber of Commerce and also with our SF City and all the other nonprofits. The simple answer, Carl, to that question is jobs. The reason I'm working on immigration reform, I have a little bit of background. I used to be a civil rights attorney, and I did my share of helping family reunite with their kindred from China and Japan and Korea and all the others, and I did that for many years. What I didn't realize at the time when I was a civil rights attorney is the direct connect to the history of the city being a city of immigrants. 35% of all the small businesses in San Francisco was owned by an immigrant. Our whole history, which I've appreciated for so long, this city's been built on good immigrants who found ideas, create their businesses, and employed others. And today, that story has not changed. I think that the businesses in San Francisco can only succeed if we have good, sound business policies, but also if we make sure that there's comprehensive immigration reform. Because what we've learned over the years is that there are millions of people in the state of California, and no different, 30 to 50,000 undocumented immigrants in San Francisco who are not part of our official economy, that are probably struggling in the underground economy, that are hiding because of fear, that will not participate in health prevention because of fear. And because of that, we think we have to have an immigration policy that is forward-looking, that makes sure there's a path to citizenship for them. But the businesses also need talent. And as Julia said earlier, we're in a worldwide talent war. Are we going to lose to other great cities that are recruiting that talent? Or are we going to make sure that San Francisco and the Bay Area gets the same talent for the companies that we have? Now, that doesn't mean, and I know the conversations are a bit sensitive around the country, it doesn't mean we take anything away from American workers. In fact, I've got serious money invested in Tech SF with the nonprofits like Year Up and others who are helping us train our residents to be part of this fantastic technology world that we have. But at the same time, certain areas that we're lacking in need that worldwide talent. We're creating worldwide markets. Eventbrite is not here just for San Francisco customers. They're here for a worldwide market if they can be of help. Events around the world if they can be of help. That's true for literally every successful technology company. Every company in the Chamber of Commerce wants worldwide. And so immigration is part of their DNA of recruiting talent so that we can get products and services, designs and ideas that are worldwide, that are culturally competent for the rest of the countries. I want to break in not just to China, I want to break into Latin America. I want to break into Africa. I want our businesses to be represented all over the world because our DNA has always been about being an international city. So that's why I'm engaged in this. It is really because San Francisco has always been a part of the conversation about immigration. And this is a time a very unique opportunity time where Congress has this once-in-a-lifetime ability to make some updated changes. And we need those changes to be comprehensive. We need to reflect what our business demands are going forward, to hopefully reflect the need to bring people out of the dark area of undocumentation and into the limelight and have them fully participate, because that has so many other impacts it has on it. And as mayors of major cities across the country, we registered this very strongly at our U.S. Conference of Mayors. We need that comprehensive immigration reform. Now, we have other things that we want to talk about on the aspects of it, and we'll get into it in this area. But I am very buoyed to join our Homeland Security as well as these great innovative companies that we have in the city to make sure that we are talking about this and sending a message to Congress and all the representatives. Our country's ability to be more successful and to fully recover really has a lot to do with whether or not we pass good, comprehensive immigration reform.
Mayor Lee, well said. Maria Odom, you were appointed just last September by Secretary Janet Napolitano to serve as the Citizenship and Immigration Services Ombudsman for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, but your background is an immigration lawyer, where you led the Catholic Legal Immigration Network, the largest network of charitable legal immigration programs in the country. Why is this important to you? And then we're going to go to our three entrepreneurs.
It is. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a great week to be here in San Francisco. I feel very fortunate to be here. And also, before I answer your question, I have to comment. Just moments ago, we were gathered in the small conference room. And, on my mind was, I listened to the president reiterate that we need a 21st century immigration system, that our system is broken, but we need a modern immigration system. And as I listened to many of you, innovators and the creative talent that you bring to the table, I realized that your voice will carry and will help us create that immigration system that is modern and that really meets the needs of entrepreneurs like you and serve the needs of our country, and also will really drive home the point that immigration is about keeping families together, but it is also a driving force for our economy. And your voice is unique, your voice is very special, and I wish we could bottle it up. I could bottle it up today and take it with me to Washington, D.C., and my plea to you is to think collectively in the same way that you seem to carry your business in this very unique business culture, and think creatively on how you're going to take that voice and that message in a clear, concise, informative manner, as you did with me just a few moments ago, to the House, because we're very confident and positive that this will roll over to the House very soon, and we need you. Why do I support immigration reform? Absolutely. This is my life's work. I started my career with the Department of Justice as an immigration and naturalization trial attorney representing the government in removal proceedings. And then I went into the private sector. So I have been a business owner. I have had a private practice representing clients who were in removal proceedings, but also representing businesses and representing individuals and also very vulnerable populations. So I'm probably one of those unique attorneys who've done the range of immigration work, and because I am passionate and I recognize that family unity is a cornerstone of our immigration system, but I also have seen the business side and what it does to our economy, what it does to families, what it does to our communities, and I've seen the incredible force that immigrant entrepreneurs bring to really revitalize our communities, to hire good talent both from within and from abroad. I come from the Southeast, so I have seen great entrepreneurship and an incredible transformation of communities by welcoming talented folks from abroad. So reforming the immigration system is something that I hope I get to be a part of over the next few months. And at the Department of Homeland Security, we're truly looking forward to putting together an implementation team and rolling out this historic reform of our system.
Maria Odom, thank you, and thank you for coming to San Francisco today for this conversation. We do want to thank our partners again, the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce, Engine Advocacy, Business Forward, and SF City for co-hosting today's live town hall. I've been eager, though, to hear from our three CEOs, young founders of companies, all with their own stories about immigration. So why don't we hear those first? Tell us your own stories. Geetha, we're going to start with you, CEO of Luminix.
Sure. So my story is not any more special than all of the stories that you guys have heard, right? So I grew up in India, and my father is a farmer, so my generation is the first one to go to school. And at the last panel discussion, I gave a shout out to all feminist fathers. I think that really deserves another shout out. So my family really believed in education and empowering through education. And after graduation, and I think all immigrants will relate to this, there is a certain restlessness and you want to get out of your comfort zone and really explore new cultures and education and intellectual opinion. So that's how I got here. But the path is not easy. It has taken 12 years to get a green card. And really, it limits an individual's capability on what they can do while you're on H-1B visa. First, it was the student visa, and then it'll take a long time before the H-1 process gives you flexibility, even to move between jobs. And then you wait forever to get a green card, and you can't start a business. Like Carl said, it took me 9 months to start a business after I got my green card, right? So I was by then so restless to start something. So you take capable individuals who are really smart and driven, and you can't limit them like that. So that's the story. But I also want to say the comprehensive immigration reform, everybody in this room relates to and agree that we have to pass high-skilled immigration. But having been on the legal spotlight, still struggling, it felt like we were in a legal limbo. You can't really travel, you can't switch between companies, and now imagine the population, the segment that's in the shadows and without rights. And I think that's morally not acceptable. And then the children, right? There is a whole generation that they thought they had a country, but apparently the country doesn't want them. So the comprehensive immigration reform certainly needs to fix those broken issues.
Alexander Torrenegra is the founder and CEO of VoiceBunny. Alexander, your story?
Hello, everybody. I'm originally from Colombia, and I started as an entrepreneur back in Colombia when I was 14. I come from a modest family. I was in love with computers, but we didn't have enough money to buy a computer, so I had to start my own data entry business in order to be able to afford one. Eventually, this is 1994. Eventually, I got access to the internet around 1997, 1998, and I realized that everything was happening here in the US. So my life as an immigrant and doing things related to immigration started. I bought a one-way ticket to the US. I got here. I realized that my English was really bad. So initially I had to work at McDonald's and Starbucks, great coffee, really bad hamburgers. And the only way I realized that also there wasn't a way for me to stay here in the US if I wanted to be an entrepreneur or if I wanted to continue being an entrepreneur. So I decided to go back to college. I had dropped college in Colombia already in order to pursue my entrepreneurial career. And I co-founded my first internet startup, and it was bootstrap, it wasn't a big thing, but within a year we had 6 employees already, and I was being told that I had to leave the country if I wanted to drop college. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur by nature, I want to drop college, right? So, and definitely going to college was slowing me down in terms of my entrepreneurial dreams. And September 11 happened, and I was being told, to some extent, you have to go back to Colombia. And as a Colombian, going back, once you go back to Colombia, coming back to the US, you had, back in 1999, 2000, a 10% chance of actually being able to come back. So I was a successful entrepreneur, not being able to stay here, but fortunately for me, I had fallen in love with the love of my life and the mother of my daughter that we had a week ago. And we accelerated our marriage. We got married, and that's how I was able to to stay. It's been 12 years. She ended up becoming the co-founder of my business as well, so which is VoiceBunny, and also this business to some extent has to do with globalization and with immigration. VoiceBunny today is the largest bank of professional voices. We market it as professional voices on demand. And what we do is we tap a crowd of thousands of people working from home. And one of the things that we are very proud of is that we are actually enabling thousands, dozens of thousands of Americans to get hired by companies all over the globe. We call that reverse outsourcing. So if you're a software developer, an app developer in India, or you're creating animations in China, or you are creating video games in Russia, chances are you want nice voices for your video games. By developing VoiceBunny in the US, we have been able to push the American accent, the English American accent, as the de facto accent that people want for applications. And that's enabling thousands of people to actually work for companies all over the planet. And, but again, since my life is attached to immigration somehow, my software development team is in Colombia, and we are constantly struggling, moving or allowing the team to visit each other. We cannot bring people to the US easily. Getting visit visas is very hard. Getting H-1B visas, it's impossible. We were not lucky to get we applied for 3 visas recently, and 2 of them, H-1B visas, 2 of them were not selected in the lottery. So their petition of these amazing people were not even looked at because of the laws that we currently have. So I'm a big advocate for immigration reform for many reasons. Oh, by the way, also the husband of my mother-in-law was deported because he was an illegal alien here in the US as well. Right. So I'm very close to all this, and I feel the pain both from a personal perspective and a business perspective. And the reason I came to the US is because it was very attractive from every single perspective in order to start a business. Innovation is happening here, starting a business is easy, getting access to capital is very easy. The only area that it looks really bad from anybody's perspective is the immigration laws that we have. That's the only thing that we need to tweak in order to become really the ultimate place to start and innovate tech company.
Alexander, thank you. We're going to move to Rutul Dave, who's the co-founder of Bright Funds. Rutul?
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Rutul Dave. My immigration story is similar to a lot of immigrant entrepreneurs. I came to the United States to pursue a master's in computer science at USC in LA. I had a scholarship, loved my experience being a part of the education system, getting a master's, learning from people who were innovating things themselves and teaching students on how to do that themselves. So to me, that was incredible experience being able to be there, being able to be a part of that system was incredible. After I graduated, I moved to the Silicon Valley Bay Area to do an internship here. And throughout my career, I've worked at startups, and my very first job was also at a startup, small group, trying to innovate, trying to take an idea from something that they know there's a solution to it and trying to work on it. That was just so inspiring. Being able to be a part of that and seeing that and experiencing that inspired me to start my own business. And throughout this whole process, what I went through as I came over as a student visa, I got an H-1 visa, working for different employers, and I was, as Geetha mentioned, always tied to their employer. Was definitely very limiting. And the whole process takes a long time. There's a lot of uncertainty in that process. But finally, I was able to get a green card and realize my vision of starting my own business. And I think that's really important. And being able to share that with you folks and being able to be a part of and create a voice in this debate on immigration reform, I think is really critical. Personally, immigration reform is important to me. But just as an individual, I care a lot about finances. I'm really, I think a lot about it. And when you think about your own personal finance, you think, oh, there's a cost, right? You spend money on the gas and electricity bills, and you spend money on, there are costs that are in your daily life. But you also make investments if you want to, grow and be successful. And, you invest in a bank and put money in a savings account, or you invest in the stock market. Comprehensive immigration reforms is just like that, right? You have border security, which is needed. It's a cost, but we need to have that. At the same time, we need to invest in people, and we need to invest in people who will be creating jobs, and people who will be bringing innovation and driving the economy forward. And that's where, people like us and entrepreneurs and having something around that is really important. So thank you for having us here and letting us tell our stories.
Our first question was intentionally to draw out comprehensive responses from each of our 5 panelists. The next questions will be very interactive among our panel and more conversational in nature as well, because one of the common arguments that we hear, especially outside of the Bay Area, San Francisco, Silicon Valley, is that immigrants take American jobs, that they compete against Americans, they use public resources, they're not paying for anything. What would you say to address these concerns? And again, we're going to think lightning round on these responses because we want to make this as interactive as possible. So, Mayor Lee, would you like to take that first? How do you respond to critics of immigration reform?
Well, first of all, you got to look at the real data. And the Economic Institute did a study not too long ago. When you got the talent, particularly in a technology job, with people with the high degrees that they have that we want to retain here to help us create more jobs, you'll find that with every technology job, there are at least 4 other local jobs that are created and sustained by that technology job. So what that says is if you keep the talent in America, other jobs will come attached to that. That's invaluable for a city like San Francisco because we're experiencing that. How did we get, in the last 2 years, from 9.6% unemployment rate where I first started to 5.2 just announced last month?
It's because of your great leadership.
No. Thank you, Carl. But it's because this fact is very true. With the technology growth comes other jobs that are coming along with that, and that's invaluable to our tourism industry, to our healthcare industry, to our hotels, to all the other support services, and the labor unions know this, so that's why they're backing this up very much as well. They know, and the facts are, that these jobs are being created because the talent is here, and this is what I think Julie said earlier. It's a talent war out there. We've got to keep the talent here. People who spent their years getting these MBAs, and I know I saw Robert Guardino here, former chancellor of our San Francisco State. We spent gobs of money and effort and investment in these young students. For them to have to then leave after the trouble with the H-1B visas, and in their prime, when they're the most creative, when the economics of their ideas is right there in front of us, we can't get the kind of immigration policy we have to keep that talent going here. That's a failure of our country if we don't do this.
Mayor Lee, great points about data-driven conversations to dispel those myths. Maria Odom, I'm going to turn it over to you. Give us that data. What is that argument that the White House uses, not only for high tech, but low tech and no tech as we talk about comprehensive reform?
Sure, it is. Well, first I want to reiterate the findings that were presented last week to Congress, that immigration reform will actually play a major role in us reducing our national deficit. So I think we need to take a look at those numbers very closely and recognize that even with a so-called surge at the border and a major investment in the infrastructure of the border, that we will still see the great impact that immigration reform will bring to our national economy. And I will not repeat what Mayor Lee said because he hit it right on the nail, of course. The supporting business and strengthening business in our economy and keeping the right talent in will create more jobs. So we continue to drive that message home. The majority of Americans, when you look at the numbers, support this common sense approach, support creating more jobs, fueling our economy with the right talent, and fueling our economy with the bright folks we have been educating. So when you look at the numbers and the polling, most Americans do support a common sense approach to immigration reform, and they will see the benefits in their communities. I've represented many companies and seen the impact at the local level, and I think it requires all of us to come and show the impact both at the state and local level and the national level, but especially at the state and local level for what fueling the economy through job creation does for the community. I think we get very focused on the national level economy when the real stories are really at the state and local level. And I think Mayor Lee is doing a great job in showing what is happening here in San Francisco and what immigration reform can do for cities like San Francisco and even smaller towns across the country. So I think the message should stay at the state and local level first, and then we'll see the boom at the national level.
Let's hear from our young CEOs and entrepreneurs, whoever would like to respond. Rutul, Alexander, Geetha, you're creating jobs here in the United States. You're paying taxes. You're adding to our economy. When you hear this from people, what is your response? What do you say?
Yeah, no, I've definitely paid a lot of taxes, so that's, yeah, no, I think the short answer is, yes, Silicon Valley wouldn't exist if that was not true. The case of, creating more jobs. One immigrant job is 4 domestic jobs. I feel like that Silicon Valley would not exist without it. I've spent enough time in the Valley to know that. Worked with really interesting people who from all over the world. And they're successful people, and they're passionate about America, and they're passionate about being here and creating impactful work and doing impactful work, and they are contributing to the economy. That's no doubt about that.
Alexander?
So the example that I usually like to give is football, right? Imagine that you are the 49ers, right? And we are going to be playing against another team, and you're not supposed to have more than 11 people in the field at any given time. But what if the other team was allowed to do that, right? They might have 12, 13, 14 people. And to some extent, that's what's happening with immigration. I mean, we have to see the US as a team that is competing against many other teams, which are the other countries. And we are limiting the amount of people that we can have in the field at any given time, while the other countries, Canada and the rest of the planet, is actually allowing good talent to compete in their team against us. The idea of not allowing new talent to come to the 49ers, new players that are awesome, or even allow the team to grow if you are capable of doing that, is nonsense from a competitive perspective. You want to have the best of the best, and you want to have the largest team you can have in order to beat the competition.
Geetha?
So I have this commercial playing in my head. So if you will, just imagine with me, all these comments being played out, immigrants take our jobs, immigrants are lazy, they're feeding off of our system, right? And then imagine that the same comments actually have been made as each immigration wave happened, like the Italians, the Irish, and now it's the Mexicans, and it's the same comments, but somehow they've become Americans and they've contributed to the society, and we're growing because when you take a diversity of ideas, they only can do good things, and they don't actually take your jobs. And as somebody said, and I think it was probably Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren, the way we have today, the system, is we have a help wanted sign on one side, on the other side we have a border with guns, right? So that's really not a good place to be in.
Let me build on that then, because again, the vote in the Senate is happening. We believe it's going to be successful, and overwhelmingly so, in a bipartisan way, as America should operate. The real battle is going to be in the House. So let's talk about that battle in the House. And without naming names, a group of about 80 of our CEOs with the Silicon Valley Leadership Group met with some key House members just recently, and one of those key House members said to us, well, we're going to, quote, we're going to take care of you high-tech folks, don't worry, but who really cares about who picks the strawberries? Well, I like strawberries. I don't see a lot of American-born citizens out there wanting to pick strawberries. It was lost on him that we would care as tech leaders about anyone other than tech. We do. We want to see comprehensive immigration reform for all of America and all Americans. So as we go to the House side from each of you, and why don't we start with Maria, what do we need to do to make sure that we get something that we can work on once we have a Senate bill passed, and perhaps not a House bill passed that's comprehensive, that might be piecemeal? How do we reconcile this and move it forward? How do we win over the House?
You know, I was speaking to a group of API leaders earlier, and we all agreed it was a funny timing for gathering today with the Senate vote later today. And really, it was important to lay on the table that the work is not done because we'll see this major vote in the Senate later this afternoon. And I think there's a sense that there isn't a space to change what is in the Senate bill. And I just want to reiterate that the space is still wide open, and it's still wide open in the House. The administration continues to have confidence that there is a good bipartisan effort in the House. We may not get everything we want to get. We may not get everything we're asking for. The administration remains committed to a balanced approach that includes both high-skilled and low-skilled labor because we recognize that both are needed. I've worked in Georgia for many years, and I straddled two worlds, the worlds that included Kia Motors relocating to Atlanta and us facilitating the transfer of some of their essential executives, but I also traveled the fields, in southern Georgia and struggled to represent individuals who were agricultural workers who were facing removal. And I straddled both those worlds, and they're both key to our economy. They're both key to maintaining our tradition as a nation of immigrants. And my advice on the House side is at this point is that you stay true to your priorities. Stay true to the message that you want to get to the House. You've started meeting with key members of the House, and don't think that the process is over because of the Senate vote later this afternoon. And keep the message simple. What I heard earlier today was a very straightforward list of concerns and a very straightforward list of needs and simple fixes that could continue to strengthen your ability to bring essential workers, but to also allow those workers to have the mobility they need to continue to thrive in this economy and allow, in turn, you, the employer, the ability to continue to replace those workers and continue to maintain the high level of skill that you need. So stay true to your priorities and continue to voice them loudly would be my advice.
Mayor Lee, we're going to hear from you next, and I want to challenge not only the audience here at Eventbrite today, co-hosted by Kevin and Julia Hartz, the CEOs and co-founders, but the folks who will be hearing this on 1590 KLIV radio as well. From a leadership group perspective, we are 375 member company CEOs, primarily innovation economy space, and one could say, well, yeah, you're in Silicon Valley, and Silicon Valley and the Bay Area's delegations in the House are already won over. They're on our side, they're our advocates, they're our champions. Our 375 members are in all 50 states, almost all 435 congressional districts. We're rallying them to reach out in those facilities with those employees to those members of Congress in those key House seats. We know that our partners at Business Forward, Engine Advocacy, the San Francisco Chamber, SF City are doing likewise as well. That's part of our strategy. Mayor Lee, you have been reaching out to other mayors. What is your strategy to make sure that we're not singing to the choir with Nancy Pelosi and others, but that you're leveraging your relationships? And then I'd like to hear from our entrepreneurs.
Well, I can't help but take advantage of the fact that we're a few days away from celebrating the establishment of our country. And when I made my first trip to China, you should have seen how people welcomed a Chinese American to China. Because, oh God, so many beautiful things are happening in your country. Freedom, celebration, the best ideas, the best businesses, the hope of the world is reflected in America. How do we get the conversation about our immigration policy from one out of a discussion about fear to one about hope and about why we are the greatest country in the world? How do we get that conversation reignited here with our congressional representatives? And I'm proud to be an American. I know where I came from, and I know where my parents came from. And we will always celebrate the opportunity that we had in this country. So when you have an immigration draft from the Senate side that says, we're going to no longer have family unification as one of the cornerstones, that's troubling. Because for me and for my ancestors, and for many of others, when we became successful, I wanted to share that with our family members, no matter where they came from. We have always been strong in family. Where is that tradition? So I want to go back to, let's not have immigration reform based on fear. Let's have it based on what our country has always done, being the hope and light for the rest of the world. And when that conversation starts changing there with the attitude and the spirit, then you start saying, what is going to make our country successful? It'll be talent. It'll be family unification. It'll be not discriminating against people who are gay and lesbian who happen to have a partner overseas that is gay and lesbian. We stopped that when I think we did a big stride yesterday, but we can do more in our immigration policy. We have to get back, and I think there's an opportunity here in celebration of our country. Let's not make decisions out of fear, but out of a prospective approach to what we've always done with immigration. Let's be the beacon and hope for everybody in the rest of the country, rest of the world, that we want the talent, we also want the values of what we believe in to be reflected in a good immigration policy.
Let's hear from some of these founders, CEOs, immigrants themselves. How do we cash in on your network of entrepreneurs throughout the country to be reaching out? Geetha?
Yeah, I actually want to follow up on Mayor Lee's comment. The conversation about fear, it's actually in human nature to reject what's unknown and to be afraid of what you really don't know, right? So for me personally, I've seen this in immigrant communities. They tend to stick together, then they don't reach out to the mainstream Americans. So changing that conversation around, personally, I have friends from 40 different countries, and I get to go to their homes and eat their home-cooked meals and stuff like that. So it's the responsibility is on both sides, both on the immigrants and the residents, to understand each other and build bridges. So having said that, to reaching out to my friends' networks and my professional networks, being open and honest about why it matters to me, why does immigration policy matters to me, as well as why would it matter to you. Going back to a simple conversation, this nation is founded on immigrants, and it's great because of immigrants. So that's my own personal battle cry.
I think that it's relatively easy. Let me start again. It's very likely that the vote is going to pass in the Senate today. I think that the big challenge is going to be in the House of Representatives in a couple of months when we get the vote again. We have pretty much everybody on the coasts agrees with immigration reform. The challenge is going to be getting congressmen and congresswomen from the middle states of America to actually vote in favor of that. So, and how do they vote in favor of that? By having their voters push them to vote in favor. So somehow we need to reach that population in the US and convince them to call the representatives or take some kind of action so that they end up voting in favor of that. And as most pitches, when you're an entrepreneur, you need to pitch the why, the how, and the what. So the why, yes, you can pitch them about the immigrant that is picking strawberries, but it's a very hard sell. It's much easier to tell them, hey, we need immigration reform because we need the founder of the next Google or of the next Facebook to be in the US and not anywhere else. And by the way, this reform is going to have a wall that you want, but so you can, to some extent, convince them, also giving them that argument. But tell the why, then the how. I am helping March for Innovation, which is a way, by the way, I have my t-shirt here, of March for Innovation. It's an online movement that is making it really easy for people to take action whenever we need to take action. So you go there, you subscribe, you give your email address, or you simply sign in with Facebook, and whenever it's time for you to take action, they send you an email, and you can click in a couple of links that are going to send a tweet to your congressman or congresswoman, that are going to send, that are going to post something in Facebook, that are going to try to convince your friends to also do the same. So that's a way of telling others, do this, simply go there, sign up, and you're going to get instructions via email whenever it's time for you to do something. It doesn't get easier than that. And the how, well, I honestly don't know a lot of people in Middle America, and probably most of you don't. If you do, please tell them. But I'm going to invite business owners in here, and I promise here that I'm going to do it, to do the same thing that we did with SOPA. back in the day when SOPA was about to pass, when the SOPA law, by the way, who remembers what SOPA is? By a show of hands, okay, most people do. So many websites ended up having, replacing the colors of their websites with some kind of black and white theme, to the extent that Wikipedia shut down for the US. I think that as business owners, if we feel that we really have a moral responsibility, we should do the same. VoiceBunny, I'm going to change the homepage of VoiceBunny and the homepage of Voice123 to tell everybody that VoiceBunny and Voice123, the other brand that we have, is supporting immigration reform, so that they know that unless they help this kind of thing, they are not going to have access, or the chances of services like VoiceBunny and Voice123 of being in the US in the future are going to be much lower. And I like to see if other business owners follow suit. It's not going to be easy, but hopefully we're going to be able to get together. By the way, my wife and daughter are here. They decided to come, and my daughter also have the March for Innovation Reform, if you want to see it later, t-shirt.
Alexander, thank you for the practical steps. And again, the Silicon Valley Leadership Group, others in this room, are part of the March for Innovation. You can tweet, you can tag, you can like, you can pin, you can post. There are so many ways that you can engage. It's easy and it's effective, and that's what we need with people needing efficient uses of their time. It also means meeting people. We'll be taking another small group of CEOs, both established companies and global brands, but also startups. What's great about Washington, D.C., they love startups. They only start hating you when you become successful. So that trip is July 31st through August 2nd. We want to encourage innovators and executives to join us for that trip. But Rutul Dave, let's hear from you, and then we're going to open it up to our audience here at Eventbrite.
Yeah, great. Just a couple of ways. As business owners, we have the opportunity. We work with people all over the United States, right? Getting to that people in Middle America, we have an opportunity to do that. We have customers there. We have partners there. We have suppliers there. Whoever it is, we need to get to them, explain the why, the how, and what to do. And that's another way for us to leverage our networks and our stories to be able to do that. Personally, yeah, March for Innovation, a great initiative to make that happen. And again, it's all about how easy it is to do these things and get your voice heard. I think that's the key. I take every opportunity that I get to be on panels like this and talk to people who would like to know, because it's numbers are great, but as human nature, it's better to put a face to a story and to have a story around it. And so, to me, I take every opportunity to do that, and would encourage all of you to do that. My co-founder, he's American. He's born, brought up here, and our startup exists because we decided to get together and do it. And he has a network, and he's from Kansas, and he takes every opportunity to talk about his company and me and my story. So. We have networks, and it's up on us to make sure that we keep rallying this, we keep going forward with this.
Panelists, thank you. We're going to go to questions from the audience. We're going to start with a few of our partners who helped make today possible. I'd like to turn first to Bob Linsheed, who's President and CEO of the San Francisco Chamber, and if I'm not imposing too much, Greg Schultz, who's with Business Forward, and Mike McGeary from Engine Advocacy, and then others to the extent we have time. Bob?
Thank you, Carl, and thank you for getting us all together to talk about this very important topic. First of all, I'd be remiss, Mr. Mayor, if I didn't congratulate you on being the host for 2015 Conference of Mayors. I bet you're going to be looking my direction to help on that one, too. Before I get to my question, thank you for your participation, particularly entrepreneurs. I want to further engage you maybe later on a discussion of the role higher education played in your entree into the world in the United States. But my question is, what happens if immigration reform doesn't happen? What kind of impact will it have on your company, your growth, your innovation?
So in the very short term, the visas that we didn't even get rejected. They didn't even, the H-1B petitions. We are trying to find a replacement for that person in the US, the 2 people that we were planning on hiring. It's difficult to find people with such a skill set in here, so we might end up enabling them to set up their offices and build their teams overseas. So it's less jobs here for the US.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you guys haven't checked out the Startup Genome Report, please do, because they've done research around the world in different cities and different countries. So everywhere the ecosystem is blooming, and they're catching up, right? So in Silicon Valley so far, we have the advantage of having bright minds here and having the access to capital and the talent. But if we don't fix the immigration issues, then the other parts of the world like Tel Aviv and Brazil, India, China, venture capitalists like somebody mentioned in the room are now actively investing overseas, right? So let's not miss the boat on that.
You know, if it does happen, we get rid of the banner on 101. Have you seen the one, the Canadian inviting entrepreneurs? We'll just get rid of that if this happens. It's one.
Mayor Lee, impact on San Francisco?
You know, I think you'll have an economic slowdown. I think the recovery will not be fully for everybody. I think you'll have 30 to 50,000 people in our city alone, maybe 2.5 million in the state of California, that don't come out of the shadows, that don't talk about their health needs, that are not part of our economy, but they have to create things underground. And then you know how that affects safety for everybody, health safety, physical safety in our neighborhoods, because people have to hide from things that they could come out and have a safe passage for. So this has been building up. It's not like it just happened. And we need to recognize that we need to do something about it, and immigration reform has a critical role in changing those circumstances to bring a lot more people out into the light and have full participation in our economy.
Maria Odom, from the White House perspective?
You know, the president has said it loud and clear that he believes that our immigration system is broken, and he has laid out the key principles that he believes will really form the core structure of comprehensive immigration reform, and we've heard them over and over. You know, he believes that we have to have a more strong and secure border, and continue to strengthening the border is a priority for him and his administration. Affording a path to citizenship to those 11+ million people in this country who are contributing to our economy through their hard labor, who need to be in this country with their families and have a lot to continue to contribute when they come out of the shadows is important. And there are other priorities in his plan that he will continue to support and continue to push forward. We want to, you know, look at those employers who are not following the rules. Unlike all of you in this room, there are employers out there who are not following the rules, and it is a priority for this president to continue to work on those things that make our immigration system very weak. So there is a lot of enthusiasm and still a few years ahead of this administration to continue to fight for immigration reform. So a defeat at this point is not the end of the road. The system is broken and needs to be fixed. So at this point, the administration stays committed to continuing to fix this system.
And I'm not Pollyannish, but we're not going to lose. We're going to win. It's going to happen this year, and it's going to happen this summer. Because if it doesn't, we lose this opportunity for, I think, decades, and we're not going to get to other important issues at the federal level that we need to tackle as well. Bob, thanks for that question. Greg Schultz, Business Forward.
Yeah, I have more of just a kind of a continuing observation. As this effort moves from the Senate to the House, the best argument that it can be made is the business imperative for immigration reform. We are dealing with, you know, a few dozen moderate members, both Democrats and Republicans. The number one message to them is that this helps grow the economy. And you all in this room and your networks across the country, I applaud what you guys are doing at VoiceBunny. You are the best messengers, and your networks are the best messengers. And Republican senators, Democratic senators, all of them have said we have not heard enough from the business community. So do everything you can. For those sitting in the audience, we have some cards from Business Forward. We can help you engage. Our whole effort is to help you impact public policy in an easier way. So if you get a chance, fill it out, leave it on your chair, we'll collect it. But thank you guys for what you're doing, and your voice is going to make the difference, and it is going to get done, but only with the business community pushing everywhere.
Thanks for the leadership of Business Forward. I hope all of us fill out these cards. We got a choice. We can be engaged or we can be enraged, and enraged isn't going to get us anywhere in this debate. Let's hear, please, from Engine Advocacy. Mike?
Thank you, Carl, and thanks to all of you for being here. I'll use the rules of order to keep this short and say I associate myself with the previous gentleman's remarks. And also to say that it is critically important to hear from the business community here, and the leadership that's being shown here in San Francisco is being heard in Washington, but we are getting into a really tough fight. And what we're going to see in the House is going to be a lot longer slog than we got out of the Senate, or hopefully will in the next hour or so. So it's really just stay engaged, stay involved. Thanks for all of you for what you're doing. It's critically important. We've got a campaign going at keepushere.org, which the leadership group has been kind enough to support as well, and many of the other groups in the room. We'll be keeping that going throughout the summer, adding new content to it, so there's going to be lots of ways to do this. But it's critically important at this juncture to stay involved. That's the message. That's the key thing to remember. So thank you all for being here.
We have a long line of people who'd like to weigh in with our panel. If you could identify yourself, and if you're associated with a company and want to mention that too. We have a total of 6 minutes left and at least 4 more people who want to speak and panelists who want to respond. So think lightning round. Sir.
Thank you. My name is Rommel Fox. I'm an Academy graduate. I'm also the CEO of a scientific research organization called WhoMentors.com Incorporated. My question is for Ms. Odom and Mayor Lee. How can we collaborate with the office at the federal level and at the local level to invite non-immigrants on a B1 business visitor visa to do independent research and permissible activities? A lot of the non-immigrants don't know that in the B2 tourist category, they're not allowed to do certain activities. So we want to start promoting and inviting them here to do independent research.
Our office, thank you for your question. We did have a short conversation around B1 options and some issues around the processing of those visas at the State Department. I'm happy to engage with you. Our office does a lot of stakeholder engagements, and to the extent that we can help promote the purpose and the uses of the allowed uses for that B1 visa, we're happy to do that, whether we can do it through teleconferences or any other means. We have also some brochures about our office, and to the extent that folks are having some issues with USCIS understanding or contesting that a change of status, requests to pursue allowed business activities under a B1, we're happy to help. So we definitely can help with the outreach as well.
And our city, we're one of the largest concentrations of consul general offices in the nation outside of Washington, D.C. and New York. And so we work very closely with the consul generals of different countries to promote visits. And we also work, and I have an educational leadership council with all the universities in the San Francisco Bay Area, and they also advise me that we can work together on international ideas that promote trade and exchanges of both students, professors, and others in education, so we could use that avenue as well.
Yes, sir. If you could identify yourself.
My name is Emmanuel Schautauer. I'm a startup founder of Tequiva. A few days ago, my visa was overwritten. I will have to leave the country in 4 weeks instead of 6 months. The immigration officer made that decision. I've been living in Japan for 5 years as a tourist. I've re-entered the country numerous times. I worked virtually. I paid my taxes in Japan. I thought I'd do the same thing here in the United States and create jobs. So my question is there any way for the immigration officers to interpret the law a little more in favor of startup founders, like they do it in Japan?
What a great question and compelling story. Thank you for joining us today. Maria Odom, would you like to respond?
Sure. Our office does a lot of review of systemic issues in the delivery of immigration services. My colleague Fred Troncone is here with me over there with the red tie, and he is our senior advisor on employment matters. Fred and I work very closely in giving feedback to USCIS on training issues and quality of adjudications issues as it pertains to adjudication of petitions that are related to a startup business. Whether it's in the L context or in the H-1B context, we are very involved in providing recommendations to USCIS on how to improve adjudications through training, but also through policy formation. So we always welcome your comments and your ideas, but also case examples that reflect misapplication of the law or policy that exists at USCIS. So make sure you have our card before you leave.
Maria, thank you for responding. We have 2 more speakers, and we literally are down to 2 more minutes. So please come right up to the mic and your quick comment or question.
Yeah, mine is quick, real quick. My name is Juan Gomez. I work here at Eventbrite. I immigrated from Colombia, so look up to Alex as a great success story. And I wanted to ask, you talked a little bit about what you can do to, and I know, and Alex mentioned Middle America. I just moved from Kansas City a month ago, San Francisco. So I do know that cities in Middle America look up to San Francisco, who are leading the way on a lot of social issues. So what can the city and the companies do? Because not only the tech world is definitely leading the way on immigration, but there's other industries, like in the case of my wife, she works in the healthcare industry, and they're not as progressive on the immigration issue as the tech community are. So what are your thoughts on the tech community leading the way for other industries to be more progressive on immigration, and the city of San Francisco leading the way from other cities in America to be more embracing of immigrants? Because I've dealt a lot with what you mentioned at the beginning, people not knowing that we pay the same taxes, we basically have the same obligations of the rest of Americans, but people sometimes don't realize that. So what can the city and the tech industry do to lead the way for other industries and cities in America?
And that's why broad-based associations like the San Francisco Chamber and Business Forward and the Silicon Valley Leadership Group, who have all those clusters of our economy as members, can help play a role there to make sure that all clusters emphasize the need for immigration reform. We'll follow off online too, but with the 1 minute we have, we do want to get to one more person with a question or a comment, please.
Hi, my name is Meng Li. I'm here, actually, I went through exactly the same issue like other people. I was a foreign student, and then it took me a long time to get through the situation to get on the green card. And I'm actually in a category that I think less than 20,000 people in America have that status, and I'm a U visa holder. I was, and I got through it. The question I'm actually having comment about why people think the foreign worker would take all the American job. When you look at the Singaporean, they actually have the H-1B/B1 visa, which means allowing both countries, U.S. worker can freely go to Singapore to work, versus Singaporean can come to U.S. to work, and you never have a problem about people talking about they would stay here for long and take away the job. So I'm wondering why there's an exception to one country versus other very talented foreign worker they have to fight with each other to get H-1B. And that's one thing I don't understand, and maybe someone can shed some light to this situation.
And we'll have Maria Odom and her team follow up with you after our live town hall today. Regrettably, and this happens often with an important conversation and a robust discussion, we are out of time. I want to thank San Francisco Mayor Ed Lee, Maria Odom with the Office of the Citizenship and Immigration Services Ombudsman, Geetha Vallabhaneni, founder and CEO of Luminix, Alexander Torrenegra, founder and CEO of VoiceBunny, and Rutul co-founder and Chief of Products and Marketing for Bright Funds. But more than anyone else, we want to thank Kevin and Julia Hartz for letting us have this live town hall here at Eventbrite. Please fill out your business forward forms. Join us on the March for Innovation. Let's make immigration reform happen in our country this summer. Thank you all.